supplies to move between and other parts of southern Ukraine. This is one of several areas Ukraine could target current military offensive. Greg Myrie, NPR News, Kyiv.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 64 points at 33,887. The Nasdaq is up 69 points, roughly 0.5%. The S&P is also up slightly. You're listening to NPR News.
This is 90.9 WBUR. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Brown in Boston. Massachusetts lawmakers are considering new rules for title insurance. Those are plans that home buyers are required to purchase to protect mortgage lenders. More now from WBUR's Beth Healy.
Title insurance costs homebuyers thousands of dollars, and it's unregulated in Massachusetts. Peter Rod is a homeowner and an insurance actuary. This week, he told the legislature's Committee on Financial Services the state needs to do more to protect consumers who are forced to buy these policies.
Title insurance should be subject to the same scrutiny as any other mandatory product, such as auto insurance.
I testified on behalf of legislation filed by State Representative Antonio Cabral. That measure would create a commission to study title insurance and whether to have the insurance commissioner regulated. For 90.9 WBUR, I'm Beth Healy.
Boston School Committee member Lorena Lopere is stepping down. She is leaving her post to join the local education nonprofit Investors. Lopere served on the committee for 2 years. Her term is set to expire at the end of this year, but she'll be leaving by next year. The MBTA is offering reduced rates on the Newburyport-Rockport commuter line beginning in July. That's to help provide alternate routes while the summer tunnel is closed for restoration work. The officials say riders on the line will be charged $2.40 per one-way trip. Those fares start July 1st and will remain in place until the end of August. In sports, the Red Sox will take on the Twins again this afternoon out in Minnesota. In the forecast, partly sunny today, the highs near 68 degrees. Cloudy tonight with a slight chance of showers, the lows around 60. Cloudy tomorrow with a chance of showers in the afternoon, the highs will be around 75 degrees. Cloudy with a chance of showers or thunder showers on Saturday, the highs near 80. Mostly cloudy with a chance of showers on Sunday, the high around 81. Right now, 65 degrees in Boston. This is WBUR.
We're funded by you, our listeners, the Mighty Team, a hiring platform for helping businesses of all sizes attract, interview, and hire candidates, all from one place. More at Indeed.com/NPR.
From NPR and WBUR, I'm Robin Young in Boston. I'm Deepa Fernandez in Culver City, California. It's here and now. The Supreme Court today ruled against the Navajo Nation in a big dispute over water rights on the Colorado River. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote the majority opinion saying that an 1868 treaty with the Navajo Nation did not require the U.S. government to take active steps to secure water access for the tribe. We'll have more on that decision elsewhere in the program. Also at the court today, yet another justice is facing questions over luxury travel with and paid for by a Republican donor. And Justice Samuel Alito is defending his actions. ProPublica reported that in 2008, he rode on a private jet of Republican donor billionaire Paul Singer, and then went on a fishing trip with him and others in Alaska. Singer later had a number of cases before the Supreme Court. Alito didn't recuse himself, and the justice, writing in a pre-rebuttal in the conservative opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, says he didn't need to. Amanda Frost is a law professor at the University of Virginia. Professor Frost, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So let's recap. Alito rode on Paul Singer's private jet to Alaska, and then Singer's hedge fund brought a number of cases to the Supreme Court. In one high-profile case, Alito sided with the majority in favor of Singer's company. But Alito says he's only spoken with Singer on a couple of occasions, brief casual comments, even on that trip. What is your sense? Should he have recused himself?
Yes, Justice Alito should have recused himself under the federal recusal statute because he accepted a valuable gift from Paul Singer, who was the CEO and founder of a hedge fund that then had a $2.4 billion case before the court. And so reasonable people would think that Alito could not be impartial in such circumstances and should have recused.
Well, remind us, because both he and Justice Thomas, who's had some of the same reporting about trips he's taken and also, college expenses paid for, they both said that they are accepted from the requirement of the law because these were personal gifts. What's going on here?
Yes, so that's incorrect. The Ethics in Government Act says that the justices must report gifts. So if they're not reporting them, they are violating that law, which requires reporting all gifts aside from entertainment and lodging and food. And transportation on a private jet doesn't fall within those categories and must be reported. Whether they recuse turns on whether they can be impartial. And once they accept a valuable gift, I think reasonable people think they might not be impartial in such cases, which is why they would need to step aside.
Well, Senate Judiciary Chair Dick Durbin and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, who's a member, called this an ethical crisis of the court's own making this week. They've called out Chief Justice John Roberts for not doing more. The committee is expected to take up legislation on this after July 4th. Do you get the sense that pressure from Congress will lead the Supreme Court, which does not get led, ever, to take action on this?
Yes, I hope continued oversight might lead the court to start policing itself. I also hope that we could see legislation. I will say that the court seems out of step with modern society for even accepting these gifts. Public officials in the legislative and executive branch do not accept gifts of lavish travel, and they're prohibited from doing so under law, and the Supreme Court justices should follow those same rules.
Well, and it's not just accepting a gift and then waving goodbye from a dock. It's going with the people who are very instrumental in cases that have come before the court, if not, in the cases that have come before the court. We mentioned, earlier this year, ProPublica reported that a Republican billionaire donor paid for luxury trips for Justice Thomas and also was very close with the family, paid tuition payments for a family member. What is your sense of what's going on with the court's legitimacy, especially since it's a country that's divided and parts of the country may not want to criticize what is such a solidly conservative side of the court?
Yes, I think all 9 justices occupy an extraordinary position of public trust and public responsibility, and all 9 need to follow the highest ethical standards and rules. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court has very few ethical rules because the Code of Ethics does not apply to them, and they're not holding themselves accountable. So I think it's important that Congress step in and regulate this branch of government that does such important work for the nation. Whether you agree with the court's decisions or not, you should want to ensure that all 9 justices behave according to the highest ethical standards.
Well, Leonard Leo of the Conservative Federalist Society, who works to get conservative justices on the Supreme Court and claims that he was successful, that he handpicked some of the recent nominees, organized and attended the trip that Alito was on, and also joined many that Thomas was on, and was a part of an inner circle of friends on these trips. Your sense, someone working to get justices on the court, we see them in pictures, in photographs, together on these trips.
Yes, and I should add, I understand that justices will both socialize and should, in fact, be out in the public, speaking, sharing their views, meeting with people. I think that's appropriate and indeed healthy. The problem here is lavish vacations in which people appear to be buying access and influence to the justices. That's a huge problem, and the Supreme Court needs to address it, and if they don't, Congress needs to do so.
Well, but he does say he thinks this is an effort, this reporting about Alito, probably implying Thomas as well, is an effort to go after conservative justices.
Well, I would just say maybe that he should wait and see, because I'm guessing that if justices appointed by Democrats or viewed as more liberal have engaged in similar conduct, reporters will be reporting on it in the near future.
Well, do you have any reason to believe that's about to happen?
No, I have no inside information, but I will say that the reporters I know are investigating each and every justice. Yeah. So I think that it'll come out.
Well, just very briefly though, if it doesn't, is that going to be a problem? That this might be presented as a partisan issue?
Well, of course, we live in partisan times, and it's going to be presented as a partisan issue. But I was interested when I testified on this, the Republican members of Congress kept saying, well, the more liberal justices do this too. And my response was, well, great, that's a sign that you should regulate. And I hope they listen.
Amanda Frost, law professor at the University of Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're pregnant and a doctor tells you that you have a high-risk pregnancy, they often help you make contingency plans to address any emergencies that may come up, such as a preterm delivery. If babies are born early, they can have serious health issues and need specialized care. but not all hospitals are necessarily equipped to handle every case. The American Academy of Pediatrics wants to help provide more transparency and accountability around this issue. It has released its first set of national standards for hospitals caring for newborn babies. In the coming months, a team will develop a process to go out and certify hospitals so that doctors and patients can be more aware of levels of care to make the best decisions for their babies. Boston neonatologist Dr. Ann Stark helped develop the standard, and she joins us now. Dr. Stark, welcome.
Thank you.
So when a baby is born at a hospital, they usually spend time in the nursery. But if they're born early or have significant health problems after birth, they can need specialized care and have to go to a NICU. What motivated you to spend time looking into how hospitals provide this care?
Well, there's a lot of literature that confirms babies do better, have better outcomes when they are cared for in a facility with the personnel and the equipment to manage their particular problems. But although there have been general descriptions of level of care, these haven't been very specific. So there are 4 levels of care. It's been well established that range from level 1, which is the normal newborn nursery that you referred to, level 2, of which it can care for mildly ill infants who are expected to get better soon. And level 3 and level 4, they can take care of babies all sorts of gestational ages, the full range, and with all sorts of conditions.
So, Dr. Stark, would it be wrong to assume that all hospitals have all these 4 levels of care?
No, usually a hospital has one particular level of care, or the highest level of care is generally at a children's hospital, because that's where all the pediatric subspecialists are. And a level 3 is typically associated